On today's episode, we take a look at Richmond. Can they back up their impressive win last week against the high-flying Roos? GWS entertain the Lions, who are free scoring at the minute. Can they hold them and get the win? Crows have been firing recently. They entertain the Gold Coast Suns. Can the Gold Coast Suns keep it respectable, or will the Crows run riot? Melbourne have been a bit of a licorice all-sorts team this year. They have a young and firing St Kilda side to contend with. Who will get the win here? It's been a mixed bag as well for Carlton Football Club. They were many people's favourites to win the flag. They're in a bit of strife at the moment. Can they get back on the winners' podium and they entertain Geelong? Top of the ladder, the Magpies are absolutely soaring high. They entertain a very tough Bulldogs side though. Who will come out on top here? And Western derbies are always a treat for the impartial observer. Who will get the win between Fremantle and the Eagles? G'day everyone, welcome back to Pommyinoz. It is your AFL wrap and we're doing the AFLW round 6. If you are new around here, please drop a like, please drop a subscribe. We've got a plethora of football content this year for you to get your teeth into. This is our weekly wrap-up show though of the women's game. So without any further ado, let's get straight into it. So we started off with Richmond versus the Kangaroos, and the Kangaroos came out on top by 35, and they kept their run going at the right time of the year, and they're really hitting their straps. It was a dominant win, it has to be said, against the Tigers. The North had way too much firepower, especially in the middle of the park, against a Richmond side that was deprived of their superstar Monique Conte. They were just simply overran in the centre, but the learnings will have held them in good stead. Emma King was phenomenal with 21 hit-outs and 2 goals and really allowed the North girls to control the footy in the centre. Jasmine Garner again was the thorn in the opposition side. She had 5 crunching tackles and 22 touches. And she was accompanied by Ash Riddell, who again had another high-scoring 25 touches and another 5 tackles, as North girls really ran riot, especially in the middle of the park, controlled the footy and really were never threatened. Brennan worked hard, played a bit more on the ball with Conte not there. She was probably one of the best for the Tigers. Late inclusion Bernardi as well offered something for the Tigers girls moving forward. She took 2 smart taken goals, but in the end the experience and the skill level of North showed and they ran out easy winners. Richmond now will hope to have Monique Conte back for next week, and they have a trip to the Suns on Friday night, whereas the Roos, they will continue their recent form with a tough visit from the Western Bulldogs. Goals then Bernardi 2, Starr, Wakefield and Brennan for the Richmond Tigers. North Melbourne, King 2, Bateman 2, Garner, Edie, Abelejo, Hammond, Bannister and Kearney for North. Best on ground, Richmond, Mackenzie, Brennan and Bernardi, and North Melbourne, Riddell, Garner and King. And let's just do a quick play of profile new for this week. We're looking at Ash Riddell, who had 25 touches, 4 marks, 5 tackles and 1 behind. And as we can see, she was just really the catalyst for everything North. She was dominant in the centre, she got the ball out, she used it very well, and she was just a real tricky, tough customer. When Riddell gets going, when you look at the North Melbourne side, she's a real catalyst for all things good for the Kangas, and she's a superstar in every sense of the word. She's our player profile this week for North. AWS to Brisbane Lions next, and the Lions ended up winning this one by 38, and they showed again how deadly they are inside 50. It was a resounding victory against a resilient GWS side, it has to be said. We know how deadly the Lions can be, and their young forwards again soaked up the quality ball that was provided by Anderson and Bates, who finished with 19 touches and 22 touches apiece, as they comfortably controlled the footy and got themselves home, and more importantly got the full points. Davidson and Dawes were deadly in front of the post, and what was more impressive was their ability just to control the tempo of the football. Whenever GWS did threaten, and there was times where they were on top, they managed to slow it down and stick to their game plan. Eva again was sensational for GWS. She finished with 22 touches. She was backed up again by hard nut Alice Parker, who had 16 touches and laid 6 tackles. but they just couldn't get their hands on the ball, and when they did, it just wasn't quality enough. The back line of the Lions as well is just as formidable as their forward line. Lutkins again finished with 5 marks and a staggering 19 touches, and her ability to be a stopper and also launch from transitional in defence to forward 50. She plays kind of like a quarterback, pings it around. That really hurt GWS, and their ability to fast transition the Brisbane Lions is really tough to defend. Up next for GWS, they take a trip to Melbourne to face the Saints, and we'll look to threaten that one, where the Saints have come off the back of a bit of a poor form. Brisbane, though, entertain the high-flying Collingwood Magpies. This should be an absolute belter and could be the tie of the round. Goals then, Sydney, Smiths and Bennetts with the goals for the GWS. Brisbane, Davidson 2, Dawes 2, Hodder, Washana and Ellinger for Brisbane. Best on ground, Eva, Barker and Beeson probably were the best for GWS. And the Lions, Davidson, Bates and Lutkins. Now the player profile for this one, we're going to look at Dakota Davidson. She was phenomenal up forward. Not only does she impress you with her ability to read the ball in flight and make herself available, it's also the way that she brings the ball down to ground, often to advantage. If she can't mark it, she looks to play people in. She finished with 10 touches, 4 marks, 5 tackles, 2 goals and 2 behinds, and was absolutely dominant throughout. An absolute superstar player there for the Lions, and someone you're going to have to stop if you need to beat the Brisbane Lions. Adelaide up next, and they crushed the Suns by 70 points. And at times it looked like a hapless Suns at the Northern Oval. This display was not only perfect, but it was ruthless, and it's the sign of what champions do. The Crows midfield almost played with their own football at times. Maranhoff dominated 8 tackles and 20 touches, and Hatchard 7 tackles and 21 touches. They gained control from the first bounce, and it never relented. Ponta was the beneficiary. She recorded 4 goals and 3 behinds and was at the heart and soul of everything Adelaide Crows in the forward 50. Her movement is supreme. She reads the ball in the air well. Superstar Erin Phillips continued her remarkable form at the moment. 19 touches and 2 well-taken goals, as the Crow girls really did put on a show and made the other competitions to step up and take notice. For the Suns, it was a lesson that was really doused in fire. Howarth was good again with 18 touches, and Drennan continues being the standout for the Suns, 29 touches and 7 tackles. Ahern did well in the face of adversity down back, finding the ball and grinding hard against really one of the best forward lines in the competition. In the end, the Crows' dominance in the centre was just all too telling, and the Suns showed that lack of cutting edge we've been talking about all week. They will have learned a lot, and it'll be another look to the postseason, draft well, maybe do a couple of trades, and really build for next year. The Suns have the Tigers next, and they will hope that they'll be able to keep that one relatively close, whereas the Crows face old enemy Melbourne, and it will be a showcase of talents in Victoria, and they'll hope to prove that they can travel well. Goals then, Ponta 4, Phillips 2, Rantle 2, Hatchard, Woodland, Martin, Shear and Thompson, Gold Coast, Kasler and Sermon. Adelaide's best on ground, Phillips, Hatchard, Marinoff, Drennan, Aherns and Howarth for Gold Coast Suns. And the player profile for this game, we're looking at Erin Phillips, the superstar female for Adelaide Crows, proving that she is one of the best, if not the best in the comp. 19 touches, 7 marks, 2 goals, 1 behind, and she was just in the centre of everything. She was absolutely dominant. Wherever she was, something happened. She's a cut above the rest at times, and you really saw this out on the park there. She's a superstar. Her movement, her athleticism, everything. You can't speak highly enough of her. If you watch this game, just watch it back. The thing she does, her IQ is so high. It was an elite performance by Erin, and it's shaping up for a great final series. Went back to Melbourne next, and Melbourne defeated the St Kilda girls by 44, and they reminded the comp just how good they can be and returned to the winning roster after 2 losses with an accomplished victory and a controlled and measured performance at Casey Fields. Daisy Piers was moved into a more unfamiliar position at centre half forward. She was dominant, 2 goals, 1 behind and 13 touches, and usual suspect Paxman 24 touches, 2 tackles, as the Demon senior players really showcased their skills and their ability to control the momentum in a game. Bannon was a great target for them, finished with 2 goals and used her body well. And Kate Horay had 20 touches and 1 goal as the Melbourne girls controlled the ball out of the corridor and looked to hit up inside 50 very early. This was largely down to Lauren Pierce's great ruck work, it has to be said. She had 22 touches and 21 hit-outs, and it just allowed the Melbourne Demons to have quality ball out of the centre. Saints girls did try hard. Usual suspects, Georgia Patriarchos, the little superstar, was industrious and worked hard for her 17 touches, and Priest again was tough in the centre. She also had 17 touches, but the difference really was the experience and their game-winning ability. And although Saints will hurt from this and they'll probably be a bit smart, they fought hard till the end. They will take heart in how their backline stood up from the bombardment at times, and they did really well because the inside 50 count was very one-sided. They will be concerned though at their entries inside 50. They did find the footy enough, but that final third ball just kind of lacks wanting, and against the top sides you've got to do that, and if you fail to capitalise you ultimately pay the price. Saints now, they entertain GWS and they'll fancy themselves getting something in that and will look to finish the year strong, whereas Melbourne reignite flames with long-term rivals the Crows as they look to keep the pressure on and really contend and cement a final spot. Goals then, Piers 2, Bannon 2, Scott, Cunningham, Parry, McNamara and Horay 1, and for the St Kilda girls, Exon, Whitford and Luke. Best on ground, Gay, Pearce and Bannon for Melbourne, Priest, Patriarchos and Exon for the Saints. And our player profile on this one is Daisy Piers. She finished from 13 touches, 6 marks, 2 tackles, 2 goals and 1 behind. And she was really the dynamo there. She was moved into the forward line from the back line this week. She really showed why. Her maturity, her ability to read. She's got exceptional high football IQ. What she didn't mark as well, she moves to advantage. She looks to bring other players in. I actually think this is her best position. I really enjoy watching her play in the forward line. I think when you've got a creative spark like that, as that final entry, particularly the final kick inside 50, really opens the game up. She was phenomenal throughout, and I really enjoyed her game. The Blues were up next, and the Carlton girls defeated the Cats by 33, and they returned to winning ways and kept their finals hopes just glinting in the sun with a comfortable win versus the Cats. Prasparkis returned after suspension, and although she did get injured halfway through the game, she was dominant as she often does. 28 touches, 3 tackles and a goal. And also what is more heartening for Carlton is in the absence of Taylor Harris, who was rested, Vesio continued her fantastic form and the forward line operated well. Vesio was the pick of the bunch though, 2 goals. She was a constant link in the chain, looking to bring the other smalls in. What will delight Carlton fans is the variety of goal kickers. Gibbs and G grabbed 2 each and provided width and control whenever they were needed, and more importantly, outlet balls. McAvoy seized her opportunity too, playing all around the ground, had 19 touches and 4 tackles, and provided a big body and a threat throughout. Her impact was not understated. She was a supreme footballer and really living up to that high draft billing. And Harrington was an absolute granite rock down the back. 22 touches, battled hard, won her duel, and her ability to intercept and score launch when that Carlton's game plan works, that is an integral part of it because they can turn defence into attack in a blink of an eye. Geelong again had their usual top performers. Amy McDonald was strong throughout, 20 touches, and Megan did well down the back, 16 touches, and did stifle Carlton's forward line at times. It's a shame she didn't have any more help, but the difference in both sides is the variety of depth. Although Madison ran riot, Egan got off the chain too, and Carlton can spread the load when they're playing well, and at this stage Geelong just don't have the cattle. Up next for both sides, Carlton entertain Fremantle, and this will be make or break for their finals. You've got to beat these sides, and if you don't beat them, you don't deserve to play finals. Simple as that. Geelong have a tough trip to Eagles, but they will hope that they can get something from it. Goals then, Gibbs 2, Vesio 2, G2, Stevens, Pound, Prasparkis and Plain. Webster, Barber, Cranston and Higgins for Geelong. Prasparkis, Vesio and Egan best on for the Carlton girls, and both McDonald girls and Webster best on for the Geelong. Player profile for this game, Madison Prasparkis, the Dynamo, reigning BNF player and probably the best player in the competition on her day. again with a dominant performance, and she spent some time off the ground with what looked like a horrific injury at one stage. 28 touches, 3 marks, 3 tackles and a goal. She's an absolute superstar, an absolute jet. And it's the way she reads the game, the way she impacts the game. She draws numbers wherever she goes. She's a tough customer, and she had an absolute field day. Pies versus the Doggies up next, and the Pies usurped the Doggies by 36, and they continued their glorious campaign with what should be said is a resounding victory at Victoria Park. It was a masterclass in the final quarters, and it was just clinical attacking football that really did put pay to the Doggies in what has to be said is an impressive performance and will make their rivals take note. Molly continued her rich vein of form, 2 well-taken classy goals, and Davey led the way in the midfield. 28 impactful possessions, a smart taken goal, and the Pies' pressure really told. 7 tackles came from Davey, and 5 and 22 touches from Benici again really allowed them to control the footy, pull the pressure and force turnover, and deprive the Doggies of the freedom they need to do their creative thinking. Blackburn was a standout though for the Doggies, 18 touches, but under constant pressure, the usual catalyst couldn't get her launch attacks going, and she was stifled from the off. When it did get into the forward 50, Stacey Livingston is down there for Collingwood. She's an absolute jet, took 5 marks, and she finds her flankers, gets the ball on the outside, and it's transitional chaos when the Pies are in full flight. The Doggies will rule missed chances. They did have opportunities at the start, but again, this is a testament to the Pies' ruthlessness and their pressure. And once they get going, they're very tough to beat. Lamb for the Doggies did finish with 16 touches and 7 tackles. She really did stand up when the chips were down, but this one was just too much for the Doggies girls. Doggies now need to dust themselves down quickly because the turnaround isn't very long. They have the roofs and will really be hoping to put a bit of pressure on. The Pies, they play the high-scoring Lions. That should be a ripper. Goals then, Molly 2, Maloney 2, Leighton, Davey and Brown. Western Bulldogs, Giatharthis and Fitzgerald for the Doggies. Best on, Davey, Livingston and Molly for Collingwood. Lamb, Blackburn and Ferris for the Western Bulldogs. Player profile for this one. Brianna Davey, 28 touches, 8 marks, 7 tackles and a well-taken goal. She was in the forefront of everything. The ex-Carlton captain drawing herself into the hearts and minds of the Collingwood faithful. She has become a great player for them. She was a great player for Carlton. She's really stepped up though. This is the best I've seen her play. She is dominant and she is tough to stop. She uses her body well. She's tough. She's skillful. She's got it all. And if the Pies are going to go to the big dance, a lot will rest on Brianna Davies' ability because she's linking up so well with Benici and so well with Molly. They're going to be tough to stop them Maggies. And finally, we finish with a Western derby. Fremantle, they beat the Eagles quite comfortably in the end, 67, and they were just simply breathtaking at times. It was the showcase of attacking football that we know from Fremantle. Gemma Houghton was in sensational form, 5 goals, 15 touches, and she was joined and the beneficiary really of Antonio's great work in the midfield. She had 23 touches, and Kira Bowers, as she often does, 24 touches, 5 tackles, which really set the groundings of what was a monumental victory against a hapless Eagles side. Eagles did show signs as usual. McCarthy found a lot of the ball, but outside of McCarthy, she doesn't have the help in the midfield, and she was often outnumbered by a rampant midfield of Fremantle. Highlight for the Dockers will be Roxy Rowe and Duffy, who again had 2 and 3 goals apiece. And this kind of form is most welcome with finals in the horizon. Fremantle bounced back after last week's disappointment with a huge bang. And when they're playing well, again, few sides can keep up with them. They're going to be very tough to beat. Up next for Fremantle, they play Carlton. Be a great test for them and could stick a final nail in the coffin of Blues' hopes, which we know is always a momentum booster for sides when they do destroy finals hopes. Eagles, they host the Cats. They'll fancy that one. They'll fancy themselves. And let's hope it should be a good game. Houghton 5, Duffy 3, Rowe 2 and O'Sullivan with the goal scorers for Freo. Kelly with a sultry goal for the Eagles. Best on then, Houghton, Bowers and Antonio for Fremantle. Eagles, McCarthy, Kelly and Bowen. And Gemma Houghton then, 15 touches, 7 marks, 4 tackles, 5 goals too, and she was absolutely sensational against the Eagles. Her athleticism, her ability to cover ground, Her speed, her ability to jump, and more above all, her IQ is through the roof. One of the top players in this competition, one of my favourite players to watch, and she showcased all them facets against the Eagles. She put them to the sword and was in everything that was Fremantle. She is a superstar, and she is another girl that is going to really be one to watch out for when finals time. She's a finals footballer. That's the wrap then. What did you guys and girls think of the week? It was a great week in AFL footy. We're nearly at the end of it as the men start to come to the floor. It's been a great season and there's still more to play out. Who have you got for the finals? Let me know. Until next time, Pom out.